Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. And welcome to the holiday season. It is the last week of November. Thanksgiving is behind us. That means Christmas is ahead of us, Mac, but also we've got championship Saturday with all these championship games. We've got bowl season. We've got will FSU do this thing and make the playoff? There is so much intrigue coming in the next couple of weeks.
No, there absolutely is. And it's just crazy. KG, correct me if I'm wrong or tell me how you feel. This has been the fastest football season I've ever experienced.
Oh, my gosh.
It's unbelievable because I think the reason why it is for us is our lives are now marked, tracked, kept up with by milestones of our little babies. Like
True.
That's what it goes by. And oh my gosh, Amelia did this, and I look up and I'm like, oh my God, it's ACC championship. Where did the season go? What happened? So that to me has just been crazy. And look, we had her last September, but she was just like a little thing. She was just this little blob, and now she's a full-grown toddler that's that close to walking, which is going to be a game changer when that happens. So it's been crazy. It has been super fast. I can't believe we just got through with rivalry week. And are on to this because it was an awesome weekend, just holistically. And you're looking at all the different games and how things happen, what happened. Coaches are changing, leaving, getting fired. It's a crazy time. It's an absolutely crazy time. And it's crazy that it's almost over.
We will get into more of that as the week progresses because we don't have necessarily – is Elko to A&M official? Officially official? We'll see. I think
it's more official than Stoops was, but I don't know if anything's signed yet.
I went to bed thinking Mark Stoops was going to be the head coach at A&M. Woke up seeing Elko. So we'll talk about that more as the week progresses. Obviously, that would be a real bummer for Duke fans. But, Mac, the holiday season is not over. I was about to say that. Oh, my goodness. It's just beginning. And, I just got back from Texas, the land of no Ingles, but I'm back in the land of Ingles, which is great news for me. And I'm going to head over there this week. Who knows? I might get that salad bar for lunch one day, obviously. But I want to see all the Christmas stuff they have out because I know they are ready to go over at Ingles.
There's no question about it. That is one of my favorites, because when you go into Ingles at a different holiday time, whatever that is, they got you ready. They're pumped. Oh, yeah. They're excited about it, decked out head to toe. And I will say that the Thanksgiving season was amazing, loaded up. But now you and I are on the same page. It's Christmas. It's Christmas now. We're full steam ahead. So real quick, here's a message from our friends over at Ingles. Then we're going to dive into Rivalry Week. Here we go.
This is so beautiful. I don't know how you do it. We just got this pipe from Ingles.
Well...
All right, move it or lose it, people! Get the cranberry sauce!
We manage.
Happy Thanksgiving from Ingles.
Mac, let's get into rivalry week. One of the hardest things to say, but a lot of interesting results here, Eric McLean. Let's start with the game you were at. Number 22, NC State beats North Carolina 39-20, and it wasn't even that close.
No.
NC State came out firing, got up 23-0, won the game by double digits, as we said. They covered, as we both said, so happy for us on that one. Pat yourself on the back. But in the end, NC State was just playing with so much more belief, momentum. What they were doing on offense was really accentuating the skill set of what they had, getting the ball to Concepcion. But really, Brennan Armstrong just played great.
Yeah.
But the story was the defense. And Peyton Wilson getting that really important pick when UNC was kind of getting back into it. The defense has been so good, Mac. What was it like to be there?
It was awesome. It was really powerful, because it was senior day, and just to be able to see that and be there up close and personal was really cool. And that's a couple of weeks in a row now that we've been at senior days and been able to, experience that and see that with these young men. And it's just, it's fun. It's fun to see, especially a lot of these guys, we're kind of in our freshman class, KG, of doing this with ESPN. So we've been with them, their whole career. We're moving on. We're getting older. We move on.
Wait. Are they moving on? Because some people have been playing forever.
That's right. Some people have been playing since before we started this journey, which is crazy. But yeah, so that was really cool. Specifically, a guy in Peyton Wilson who, man, just electrifying. I mean, 15 tackles to go out against his rival to absolutely kill those guys.
And that pick.
The pick was nuts. Had a sack, a couple of tackles for loss. I mean, he was just a beast. And the environment was well worth it. I mean, they were jacked up. They were loud, obnoxious, cheering, chanting, whatever it was. They were getting after it. And Wolfpack fans stuck around at the postgame show. They were loaded up all around the set. You just hear them cheering for 3/4 of the show. It's like Florida State stuff. They can't see the TVs. They're just going nuts. It was so much fun. So big shout out to Wolfpack Nation and to Coach Doran. KG, he's been the model of consistency, for, NC State and really in this conference. There's probably 3 or 4 coaches that can really sit there and say, hey, look at what we've done over this long period of time. And he's certainly in that. And it was fun to kind of see, just him up on that stage and soaking it all in, to be with a guy of the last regular season of the game of the year is him reflecting, and especially in a rivalry game like this. It was really cool. And it was really fun to see.
It was. That defense was great against Drake May, just like they were last year, able to limit him. It was hard sledding for Omarion Hampton. They could not get the run game going, which really was a big issue for North Carolina. Mac Brown said after the game that it was on him, that his team wasn't prepared. It's crazy, Mac, how UNC has stumbled so much in the second half of the season last year and this year. And when you have a talent like Drake May and you kind of just plateau at 8-4, can't beat your biggest rival, I know it's really frustrating for North Carolina, but in the end, look, UNC at the beginning of that game, I think if you're a UNC fan, you're livid because you don't look prepared. You don't look ready. You're down 23-0. But a lot of it was just credit to NC State. I mean, this team's been playing. I think the Clemson game was a huge catalyst for them. They've been playing with a different level of intensity and focus, led by that defense. Even if UNC had played much better, I don't think they're beating.
Yeah, and you know what's fascinating about that is that was the week that Steve Smith said what he did about the program, and it got them fired up, got them jacked up. So
that's right.
Steve Smith and Tyler from Spartanburg got 2 old school Atlantic teams fired up and on these win streaks where they just go and annihilate people. But it's crazy to look at that. And it's crazy to have these very definitive turning moments for these teams and to see, how they're able to crank it up. And, like you said, it started early and often. NC State hitting those guys in the mouth. And that first, they went 3 and out to start the game. UNC did, and the crowd just was erupting. I mean, they were jacked up. They were excited. The defensive game plan was crazy. I mean, I think UNC had one drive at the end of the second quarter, like right before half, where they scored a touchdown. Leading into that, Drake May, I believe, had 2 completions for 3 yards. I mean, that was crazy to see those stats and to see how they were just totally having their way defensively. Everything that they wanted to do, shutting down the run, absolutely taking away windows and taking away passes. So it was very impressive. Have said this plenty of times, KG, but Tony Gibson, defensive coordinator for NC State, is one of the best in the entire country. That dude is elite, has his people prepared, loves those dudes. I mean, how passionate he is with that group. It's just really fun to see, and it's really great to know him and to be able to chat with him and kind of see the game how he does at times when you kind of hear it. So that was incredible. And I think something you said there too about the fascination of how this UNC team cannot finish or how they have finished, however you want to look at it, is bizarre because it's not like Duke. It's not like Syracuse. It's not like Wake Forest where you just run out of gas and you're injured and you just don't have the depth or the horses.
Injured.
These are like coaching things and being outplayed. I mean, you look at last year, the way those teams played them to end the season where they went on that losing streak, I mean, they didn't know what to do. And they had no run game, couldn't get anything going. And now in this one, I mean, Drake May has to be the leading rusher and do all those different things. So it felt like I was watching UNC of last year. There was no way that I thought that we would ever see that again, especially with how good Amarian Hampton was and, the offensive scheme all year long. But credit NC State for forcing that issue. Spoke to Dave Doran early in the day, and he said, when you're playing balanced teams and when you have teams that can really do whatever they want offensively, you have to set the tone by taking away the run. Checkmate. They did that, and they set the tone really early.
We'll see where UNC ends up in bowl season. Mac, I'm really excited for this NC State bowl game, whatever it is, because they're looking for that 10th win for just second time ever. I hope players don't opt out. I have to imagine Peyton Wilson will not opt out, and maybe he'll lead the charge there. But, Mac, it's really hard to believe that a game on Friday, September 29th, is the reason why NC State is not playing Florida State in the ACC title game and Louisville is. A 13-10 game that probably nobody really watched because it was a Friday night and it was an ugly game except for diehard fans of those teams. It's crazy how, and that's what we love about college football is every game matters. That game matters so much now, but there is not a hotter team in the league besides Florida State than NC State.
No, I agree with you. And it is just absolutely bizarre to look back at that and to see how that game went. And, just in a time where there's no divisions, there's no nothing, that they couldn't get it done. And what's even crazier, though, is I look at that and KC Concepcion had one catch in that game. Like, they're a totally different team. And so if those teams played again right now, you're like, no question. I think NC State gets it done and wins that game. So it just goes to show you, like everything that you just said, and what is so unique about college football, and will be a little bit different next year because there's more teams in the playoff going to 12, is every week is a playoff game. If you lose, you're done. You're out. And if you lose 2, you're for sure out. And so, it's going to be interesting just how that does change a little bit. But it does put it in perspective. And I think it puts even more in perspective, KG, how much NC State has grown this year and the adversity that they face, the just absolute ball coach that Dave Doran is, finding a way with the great coaches that he has, the great coordinators that he hired. And we're at the point now, especially that's the cherry on top, where we spoke to him early in fall camp, and he said, we're already very difficult to prepare for defensively because we have multiple looks and we do all these things. I wanted to be that on offense. As we sit here right now, he accomplished that. That's what they are. They're very tough to prepare for. And there's multiple looks. There's all these different things. And so you're excited about the future. Big old question mark at quarterback. But, moving forward and when you look at next year, but man, this team, the resiliency, what they're able to accomplish, KG, I've been very impressed with.
Oh yeah, for sure. Going from that game up at UConn to this is quite the growth. One more thing about NC State. KC Concepcion is special. You have to do everything you can to make sure he doesn't try to enter the portal. No, sure. I haven't heard anything. I don't know anything. This is just me talking. And to me, you have to have a plan at quarterback that you can present to him, that you can say, all right, this is what you did with our makeshift QB situation. We'll build our offense completely around you. We're going to go get this guy, and this is how we're going to use you. I think they have to be, again, I don't know. Sure. I don't know what kind of kid he is. He might be fine, but I think you got to go recruit him. Like that is priority number one if you're in NC State.
A couple of things there. Number one, I go so back and forth with this, KG, because, we did both play and we get it. And we know, the things of when we were a player and the disadvantages that there were because players had such limited power. But they're also, and I'm excited that they have the power now because I think that's fantastic. But there's the other side of it where it's like, it is absolutely absurd what you just said has to happen. But it does have to happen.
Yeah.
It does have to happen.
It is.
And it's something where they do have to have a plan. Because number one, not even just that, not even just the selling your own program and recruiting your own team, because I think that's a very real thing everywhere. But you also have the real possibility of people have already been messaging and calling and whatever this guy's saying, hey, come here. Oh, yeah. Look at what we can do here. And it's just, it's a crazy world.
Yeah.
It really is. And, is what it is. That's where we are. It's where we are. So
it's messed up. All I can think about is Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. Hope not.
So it comes to mind. Okay. You know what? I did not mean to rain on NC State people's parade today. That was not my goal.
That's right.
Incredible win for the Wolfpack. Let's get to number 5, Florida State, surviving, rising
Phoenix,
back
baby,
from
out of
the
ashes.
dead
Come on.
against Florida. Yes. Beating Florida 24-15 in the swamp. And the moral of this story was, yes, the FSU defense, Jared Verse had a great game, but Trey Benson, he did everything for Florida State. He made the big plays when they needed it. And, I think jury's still out a bit on Tate Rodemaker. We'll see. Maybe another week in this system, he can look more comfortable against Louisville. It's really tough to be thrown in there at the swamp in that environment. He still had some great moments, especially late in the game. But the run game and the defense got
really
this done
did.
for
And
Florida State.
it's interesting too. The effectiveness of the runs, because it took a little while to get it going. I mean, Florida had a great game plan.
Yeah. I mean, only 90 yards.
Right.
It's not like they ran the heck out of the ball, but they made the plays when they needed.
Tate had like minus 30 with his sacks. So it's so weird. I hate that's such a stat. We need to figure that out. It's so dumb.
That stat.
Figure it out. Put it
so
anywhere
misleading.
else other than rushing yards. I get it. I understand it, but put it anywhere else. And so realistically, they had, probably 120 rushing yards, which still isn't great. I mean, I thought that they would have a massive day, and specifically thought Trey Benson would go for 150 plus. But he did have 3 touchdowns, and he had a 36 yard touchdown that just absolutely blew the game open there to win there. Also covered. Shout out Florida State getting that done. But that was great. Counter left, counter right, power, duo, whatever you want. They were running the ball there to kind of end the game. And I think the good thing, what you said about Tate, is he went through this. That environment will be the toughest environment from a everybody's against you standpoint that he'll see the rest of this year. ACC championship, I imagine, will be a bit of a home game because they clinch so quickly. You look at potentially after that, if it's a playoff game, probably will be 50-50, if not a little bit more, depending on how that goes. And then a national championship, same type of thing. So in regards to environment and the swamp, one of the craziest places in the world, you won't see that again. So you've been to the top. You've been to one of the most difficult, on top of the rivalry aspect of it all. So that's done. And you passed the test. You won the game. You're kind of efficient, right under 50%, but, throwing the ball effectively, made some big time throws. A couple of guys also had some drops. So I thought that Florida State would have to play a little bit better, a little cleaner than they did to really win this game, especially the margin of victory that they did, 9 points there. But other guys stepped up. Defense stepped up. Jared Verse exploded onto the scene. 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, a fumble. I mean, that's how you get paid. When that guy, he's coming off the edge like he did, kind of circled back around, motor going, and then popped that ball out. That's first round stuff. I mean, that was great to see. Braden Fisk had a big time game. That defense in general, Shaheem Brown was fantastic. Deloach, I mean, just a freak. That dude is so good. So it was fun to see everybody kind of take a step in 2 games in a row. It's Miami, it's Florida. It's, my gosh, you got to do these things with, North Alabama and travesty happening in the middle of that with Jordan Travis. So great to get all that behind you. And now I think, okay, get back, let's go. Like it's time. It's trophy time. It's ring time, playing in the ACC championship, playing in a playoff, playing in a national championship. So all those goals square in front of them, KG, and liked what I saw. Hopefully we'll continue to see progression from Tate. I surely think we will.
We're going to talk so much more about this week as we preview Louisville FSU, but I don't think you can beat it. It's so sad where we are right now, but I'm not sure you can beat Louisville 24-15 and make the playoff, even if you're an undefeated ACC champion.
Who's jumping you? Tell me who's jumping them.
This committee,
hey, just let them get to Tuesday.
Crazy.
We'll see what happens tomorrow. They might be at 3. They might be at 3 tomorrow.
And I'll tell you what, Mac. I saw a beat up and somewhat susceptible looking Georgia team in Atlanta. If Bama beats Georgia, all
if that
hell's
happens,
breaking
they're
loose.
both out. They're both out. No
I'll
SEC.
tell you that.
No SEC.
No way.
Texas,
no way they'll
Texas
do that.
will be in. That's
and it's
what's
not
going to
fair,
happen.
but of course, remember, this is a committee of
that can
humans.
Be persuaded and bought.
The humans
That's
know
what
that
is.
Jordan Travis is hurt. It is not a computer. So, Yes, you got to do a little more next week. I think every Florida State fan would understand that. But Mac, I go back to my crazy stat about Florida State from Friday. They have 5 turnovers all year. They did not turn it over at Florida.
They do. Yeah.
If they keep doing that, they will be in a position to win every game that they're going to play for the rest of the season.
The great equalizer or separator is turnovers.
Yeah, it's really incredible what they've done in that category. Speaking of turnovers, just kidding. That was a really rude transition. Number 24, Clemson beat South Carolina 16-7. My eyes, I felt like were being just, tortured with the lack of offense.
Man, for
in
200 yards,
game,
come on.
It was tough to watch at times.
It was bad.
Mag, it was bad. That being said, Clemson won. Their only offensive touchdown was nothing, actually. Their only touchdown was the backwards pass. And Jonathan White's, his redemption story, his arc, beautiful. Amazing to make all those field goals. But Clemson won. And that's what matters. But still, Mac, pretty ugly. I think there's so much momentum that Clemson has gathered from November going 4-0. You need to do a little more in your bowl game. This is kind of what we're saying about Florida State. But I think you need to do more in your bowl game and look better offensively for people maybe outside the program. I don't know about inside, but outside the program to feel better about you going into 2024.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. I'm going to be super positive first because it was a great game. That defense was just absolutely insane. What they have done realistically all year. I saw someone, it might have been David Hale, tweeting that any drive, he was super specific. So just go check this out. Whatever, I'm a butcher and I'm sorry. Basically, he showed, though, I don't know when this started, if it was all year or if it was a particular time. Any drive that started with a kick or a punt, Clemson was just like better than anybody that's ever played the game of football, like ever. I mean, it was crazy, the stats that he was rattling off. The Georgia teams, the Clemson National Championship teams, all these different things.
So basically, not when Clemson fumbled and then the defense was put in a terrible position.
So whenever that happened, this team was crazy. And that's what you expect, though. You expect offensively every drive to end in a kick. That's always our goal. And most of the time, you want that to be an extra point. And so when that doesn't happen, obviously you get put in a bind. So those guys have been playing at an elite level, but specifically, it feels like the month of November, they've taken it to another stratosphere. And man, I have to give so much credit to Wes Goodwin, but also to the staff for flipping this defensive backfield around. And that's credit to the players. Obviously, they have to step up. Nate Wiggins is going to be a first-round draft pick, probably a top 10 draft pick. Khalil Barnes one day is just going to be, this monster that's going to be drafted very high. All those guys have stepped up their game. Terrell, same type of thing. They've all stepped up their game immensely, where they were in apps, and not those guys because those are true freshmen, some that I just mentioned there. They were absolute liabilities last year, the defensive backfield, to where Wake Forest is putting up 500 yards of offense. South Carolina, same thing. Tennessee to end the bowl game. So it was like the switch, the turnaround from that to where these guys, you look at their last couple of games and who they played starting in that November, against Sam Hartman, who's elite. They're destroying people and just absolutely not allowing anyone to pass. I mean, South Carolina had 160 yards. I mean, that is crazy. Absolutely insane. And so they played great. The defensive line, I would have liked to see a little bit more getting home pressure-wise, but Rattler's athletic. He's that type of guy, that he can step out and try to create. But I thought the defense was absolutely exceptional. I did like what I saw from Maffa and from Ship, in spurts, just couldn't get in the end zone. There was something that just held him back, whether it was a penalty or a missed block, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just been – it wasn't fumbles.
But it wasn't fumbles, Mac.
So, you've seen kind of that regression. And we've said this a million times. Cade Klubnik has all the physical talent in the world. Like, it is freaky when you see that dude play at the highest level that I think he can get to. Because even going back to that Syracuse game, KG, we sit there and we're like, wow, like that was a crazy throw. The key for him is totally mental. That dude has to get in the film room more than anybody's ever known. He has to understand coverages. He has to understand the offense. He can get to that Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson level. I truly think he can, but he has to put in the work. It's not a physical thing. It isn't. And that's what can hold a guy back, right? You can only develop so far, but mentally you can take strides, leaps, and bounds. And I think that's still in front of him, but that's going to be on him. That's going to be on these coaches getting in the film room, understanding what it's looking at, because there were just plays made. And I mean, the pick is one of the examples. It's just bad throws. It's bad decisions, with what you're looking at and where you should be going, reading the defense. And so, again, that's going to be on him. He's got to take in, personal account and, do that, because talented as I've ever seen, all those skill set, all the things that he can do there. And look out. This Clemson team might make some noise. I've compared them to 2014 a handful of times this year. This kind of sealed the deal for me, KG, because this is the last time that we ever did that was 2014, not scoring offensive touchdown against Louisville in the Valley and got a dub. So
that's right. That's right.
This team, I think, is going to be really good next year. They've got a lot of pieces, a lot of young cats, but it'll ultimately come down to that quarterback position and how much does he want it? How much does he want to be great?
Mac, we talked about the ACC wins over the SEC with Clemson and Florida State. Now let's talk about the losses. Louisville. Why? I did not mean to wear Kentucky blue today. I'm not trolling. This is it's just sad. Kentucky beats number 10 Louisville 38-31. Mac, we should have known. We should have known. Louisville always just finds a way to mess this one up. And I think the biggest difference in this game, they had multiple big leads. It felt like they were going to do it. But the two fumbles, the pick as well, but the two fumbles specifically really hurt Louisville. And I'm not going to say I called it, because I obviously didn't. I was wrong. I had Louisville covering. But I did say on Friday, Kentucky had the second best rush defense, in the SEC. And they did limit Louisville Louisville still rushed for 161 yards, but it felt like neither Jordan or Garendo could get going. I thought that was a big difference too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I thought their defensive line played unbelievable. I mean, they were causing problems, for Louisville, getting after the quarterback, but also, just not being able to get much push and not be able to get them out of the way for that run game. And you mentioned, I'm doing the quick math right here, 161 yards on 40, attempts. It's still good, because it's like 3.5-ish, a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But it's not what Louisville's used to doing. If they're running the ball 40 times, you're expecting that to be well over 200 yards and not a ton of explosive plays. You think of that for a run, 20 plus yards, probably 25 plus passing. They only had one of those. And so this is a team that thrives off of doing that. We didn't see them do it last week against Miami, still found a way to win. See that what happened this week, that they weren't able to get it done, and totally vice versa. Kentucky, which for the most part, I thought that, Louisville's defense played pretty well. I mean, they held them to a sub 100 yards rushing, right at 200 yards passing. So if you just look at that, you're like, yeah, Louisville got this done. But there were huge, chunky plays that went for touchdowns that were just like backbreakers and just game changers. And you're just looking at it like, what is happening here? Ray Davis was elite. I mean, that dude was unstoppable with the things that he was able to do, scoring 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air as a receiver, and then 1 on the ground. And just it really does come back to the turnovers, because that is what plagued Louisville, obviously in the Pitt game, plagued them in that NC State game that they somehow found a way to get by. But, Jack Plummer just holding that ball like it's a loaf of bread on a easy, what I thought was going to be a conversion. He slows up, ball swinging around, and it's out. And Louisville's got it, or Kentucky's got it, and marches down the field. 17 points in the fourth quarter for Kentucky. It's brutal, because you expect a team that understands what they have at stake and understands where they can go and the potential to still maybe make a playoff. If you dominate this game, you dominate the next game and make some noise and have some help. But all that was there, and it was just like the second half, it didn't matter. Fourth quarter didn't matter. And it was just, I don't know, super disappointing, KG, because now, you're looking at Charlotte And this championship game, which, obviously still a high class game, whatever, but not a top 10 matchup, 2-loss team rolling in, and you're just like, whew, stinks. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutal for the league.
Well, and I know it's brutal for Louisville. I know that game means so much to them. It just shows how much rivalry games mean, because Louisville, in every way, shape, or form, had a better year than Kentucky.
Yeah.
But now Kentucky wins that game, and one team's feeling great, and one team's not. And one team has 10 wins. It's just amazing what rivalry games can do and what they mean. We'll see where Louisville's ranked for next week. I think it'll still probably be a top 20 matchup.
Please.
I would guess.
Oh, man.
I mean, you lost to the guy that A&M kind of wanted to hire, so it's got to count for something, right, Mike?
It's a quality loss. They might be in the top 10. They might be a number 8.
To an SEC opponent, that's right. Okay, speaking of a quality loss, Georgia Tech, Mac. Georgia, number 1, Georgia beats Georgia Tech.
Did you take the Jackets to cover?
No, I'm so mad.
Okay, I thought you did.
So
I thought that was going to be the swinger right there. I thought that was going to get us.
Georgia beats Georgia Tech 31-23. Georgia Tech looks good. I like what they did offensively. They were creative. Haynes King, of course, ran the ball a good bit, but he was really good. You forced 2 Georgia turnovers. If not for Kendall Milton, you win the game, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. I know Georgia had some guys out, didn't have Brock Bowers, but Mac, just think big picture, right? Georgia Tech going from last year, firing Jeff Collins. If you had told me right when they fired Jeff Collins that the next season they would be 6-6 and play a really good game against Georgia, I would have been like, no, that's not happening. So it's just been an incredible turnaround. And I know there's no moral victories. Cuse said that after the game, but it kind of feels like one, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I mean, you look at last year too, the way that they competed with those guys. It was halftime. You're going into a 10-7 game. Where Georgia's just been destroying everybody, and everyone's kind of
Georgia Tech to cover last year.
There you go. Everyone's looking around like, whoa, what's kind of going on? And then this year, I mean, Haynes King, obviously a massive difference maker. I mean, what he was able to do in that game, the big time throws, but also with his legs. I mean, that's what's been getting people all year long. Had 2 touchdowns there, really great play design. But ultimately just that rushing defense was kind of what got you, and giving up 260 yards on the ground is just tough. And, I think when you look at that Georgia team all year long, you hadn't really think, okay, this is the team that will absolutely run the ball like crazy. It really wasn't like what they previously did because Beck was throwing it so well. I mean, he's been over 300 yards, more than half of his game. So, I thought that maybe there was a chance there if we had a dueling quarterback deal going on here, but Georgia said, no, man, we're about to run this ball. We're going to run this football. So a lot of credit to Georgia Tech, though. Like you said, no more victories, but you're going bowling. You get these extra practices. You get to go and kind of have a celebratory game there where, you get a chance to play a quality opponent and an opponent with a winning record, I think. And so you're excited to, Minnesota's lurking out there. But
South
you're
Carolina's
excited.
lurking.
Oh, that would be brutal. No, don't give them that. Don't give them that. Anyway, good for Georgia Tech.
Speaking of bowl games, let's roll through the rest of these, Mac. Virginia Tech beats Virginia. They improved to 6-6. They're going bowling. They beat Virginia 55-17.
This is the one you should have known. I was shocked when you picked UVA.
Yeah, I didn't know
what was going on.
Idiot. I should be banned from the podcast for an episode.
No.
Like, Mac, I should just come on, do the intro, and I should not be able to speak for the rest of the episode. Because this was
with your basketball
so
season,
stupid.
We might have to do this, and don't joke about that.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. This was idiotic, but Virginia Tech looks really good. Kyron Drodes, you have your quarterback of the future. You have so many guys that you can count on for next year.
Yeah.
You are in a really good place for Virginia Tech to do this, finish 6-6, go to a bowl game, hopefully win that one. Incredible bounce back year for the Hokies.
Yeah, no, huge. I mean, monumental. And just to win this game, to take all that momentum that you had been building all year long in recruiting, in the state, all these different things, and then to have a dominating kind of exclamation point on the regular season over your rival, that's big. That's huge, for the Hokies and for them to kind of go full speed ahead into this offseason. Hopefully get a bowl game dub. It's going to be fascinating. Selection Sunday is going to be so fun. We got to stick around the whole show. Like we got a lot of stuff going on here for those guys in the ACC and who's going where. 500 yards of total offense, 6 touchdowns. I mean, it was awesome, to really see what they're able to do, create turnovers, get after the quarterback. 6 sacks, I think they had. I mean, that's Virginia Tech football, right? Like the yards and offense is great, but the complementary piece where you're having 10 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, that's what they're known for. And we kind of saw that, right? We saw it kind of in the middle of the season, where it was this emergence. Kyron gets the job. They go on an awesome run, are fighting for a spot in the ACC championship game, and then, take a little bit of a dip and then just spike right here. So, again, a team that when you talk about needs practice, needs reps, needs to build, that this is great for them, this opportunity that they have. So, amazing season. Huge shout out to Coach, Coach Pry, and the things that he was able to do this season and to build this team up. And then I do want to say this about Virginia, just so close, just right there. And I know everybody's probably feeling terrible. You never want to see this, your last game, especially against your rival, and it hurts and it stinks. But there is so much promise and growth, I think, that we've seen from these guys. And you're just a couple of pieces away. And the good thing is you have a transfer portal. You can build on that. You can capitalize. And, again, shout out to Malik Washington. I mean, that dude is a freak. I mean, you talk about epitome of consistency all year long, where everybody knows that you're the guy. Everybody knows you're getting the ball, and you just, tear it up. I mean, he had 100 yards in all but 2 games. In one of those games, he had 97, and he was right there.
That's
so you're
unreal.
talking about not in one. And that was the first game against Tennessee, where they were probably trying to figure out who was going to do what. So that dude is freaky. He went over 150, 4 times. I mean, he's just a baller, big-time baller.
And with different quarterbacks too,
right?
Having to figure out, who the heck's going to be throwing him the ball. Yeah, he was crazy this season. Mac, let's roll through the rest of these real fast. Duke beats Pitt 30-19. I feel like every single time I bet against Duke this year, it hasn't gone well for me. Duke had the best player on the field in Jordan Waters. I think that was really the difference.
Yeah.
The big story question now is with Mike Elko, who we think is leaving for A&M, but to finish 7-5 without Riley Leonard for most of the season, honestly, I think if you're Duke, you wish you could have gotten to 8-4 and been able to get that 9th win. Maybe the UNC game could have pushed you over the edge, or a few other games there, but still to overcome their injuries.
Yeah.
Things are looking good for Duke in the future, but I don't know who the coach is going to be or what's going on there, Matt.
Yeah, and that's something we'll touch on in the coming weeks, I'm sure, because as we're recording this at 8:00 at night on a Sunday, I haven't seen anything official, and it just
Probably
it
right
does
when we
right as
get
soon
off
as we
this.
hang up. As soon as we hang up, it's going to be breaking news, and it stinks, right? Like obviously you're happy for Coach Elko if that's what he decides to do, because that's great, and it's obviously a ton of money, life changing, and a program that can get a ton of talent very easily. And so what can he do with that? We saw what he did at Duke and took them to places they haven't been in quite some time, and been consistent these last couple of years outside of injuries. But you feel for everybody involved, players. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they've been able to build in these 2 years. If he leaves, what's next? Where do you go? Who do you get? What does Riley do?
It's interesting.
All that's going to be fascinating. So good win for Duke, finishing it off there. Pittsburgh, just a mess. I mean, they've got a lot that they need to figure out.
On to next year.
And tough. And another team kind of like that is Wake Forest. And, they fight like heck. I mean, they're right there trying to spoil Syracuse from going bowling, but Cuse finds a way, had a big stop, on 4th down right at the goal line, I think, to win the game. I think Valari's going to be the quarterback next year. That dude was throwing dimes, catching dimes. I mean, he's just, future Heisman winner. Look out in Syracuse. Interesting to see who their head coach is going to be next year and the things that they're going to do. So we'll see, KG. It'll be interesting.
With Syracuse, I thought it was cool that these players really wanted to fight for that bowl game and to win that game, even without Dino Babers and without their head coach. And I think I saw Schrader saying that they won the game for Dino. So that was cool. And I saw the Syracuse AD saying they're trying to get a hire in soon before the transfer portal really gets going. So keep an eye on Syracuse. Yeah, exactly. Friday night, Miami did beat Boston College 45-20. Miami finishes the year 7-5, took some steps in the right direction. We'll see at their bowl game. Obviously had some issues. Quarterback position is a big question for them,
Yeah.
as is for Boston College. BC, Mac, remember when I said they got those bowl season t-shirts? And I was like, what are you guys doing? It kind of feels like they're celebrating and they have a bunch of the year left.
Yeah.
And you said, well, they just get those t-shirts. And I'm sure they do. But Castellano said after the game, it felt like we got bowl eligible and then we just were satisfied and didn't play like we should the rest of the year. And that's so true with
tough.
BC.
It's tough. And, you want to celebrate those wins. And then, do people feel like we did it? We accomplished it, something no one thought we could do. But you got to keep going. You got to keep fighting. I thought that team was super hot and going to make some noise, even in this game. Thought Miami would not show up. So
we both picked BC, right?
Yeah, massive credit to Miami for just dominating, running like crazy. Those guys were sick and a great core nucleus. I've said this 100 times, but if Miami can kind of keep all people in house, what they're doing, add a couple more, you feel really good about what they're doing, where they're going, and the direction of that program. So we'll see. It's going to be fun, KG. Where'd we end in picks? Do you have that pulled up just for the good people before we get out of here?
Yes, I do, in fact. So I went 4 and 5.
Okay.
You went 6 and 3. Yeah,
so it's over.
Big difference.
It's over.
The big differences were Virginia Tech, and Pitt Duke. That was stupid.
Going against the Blue Devils.
That was real stupid.
Crazy.
So there you go. Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you finished you finished 6, 49 and 37. That's pretty good.
Not great. Not bad.
Against the spread, Mac, that's pretty good.
I need to figure it out. I need to
that's solid.
We'll find out. I guess you guys will listen to us. Maybe if you get on early, you'll find out before I do. I need to figure out radio because I was down 1 in radio. And I hope with this week, 6 and 3, hopefully I made some push. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Anyway, big week ahead. Wednesday, we're going to do some different things. Friday, hopefully things get normal. If schedules get in the way, because KG's very busy this week. We might have a little bit different schedule for you guys, but just stay tuned. You'll see it. Hopefully you get notifications. If not, we'll be tweeting it out like crazy on all social media platforms as well. So just stick with us. We got a fun championship game coming up. And then next Monday, Selection Sunday. And hopefully we've got a team rolling in the playoffs. We'll see. That's going to be a fun one as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Big shout out to our friends over at Ingles. Could not do this without them, but we continually need your guys' help. We need you to go over to YouTube, jump on this channel, subscribe, leave some comments. It's a lot of fun seeing and reading all those in there. And then, of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe as well. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.